So it's a good possibility that we are all descended from orphans. No one knows their great parents or their great grandparents, and hardly anyone knows the story of great grandparents, let alone their great great or their great great great, right? So we don't really know what was going on in the 1900s, late 1800s. All these stories we have, and we have all these family trees and things that look like they go back further, but do they? We don't really know. So it's a good possibility that we are all descended from orphans. It's awful, from these. And what we see is the orphans start popping in around the 80s, maybe the 1870s, but definitely by the 1880s. We've got these orphans everywhere, and they're sort of suddenly all across the realm. They're in the Americas, they're in Europe, they're on boats on their way to Australia, apparently. But even in Australia, we had orphans shipped out. Then, and this is the other thing, they were then shipped around the realm on boats, and then they were trained around countries, and it was a real mixing of populations. It's like they were literally getting, like they're doing at the moment. And they're getting one population and they're moving it to somewhere else. And then that population that was there, they're moving somewhere, and they're just playing this big jigsaw thing. So that when the reset happens, no one's got a history. No one knows how to live off the land that they're in, because they're all in different places where they shouldn't be. You can see here, History of the New York Juvenile Asylum and its Orphan Trains, Volume 4. So there's lots of them, 1880 to 1887. So this was going on. And of course, we have the World's Fairs and the incubators, which come in as well. And then we get all these weird pictures of adults with babies who don't look like they know what a baby is. This is another thing we see. These kids just look like they're probably 16, 15, and these obviously younger. In the mud, of course, right? Working at this crappy factory. And this is how they kickstarted our era, our modern world with the kids. They threw them all into factories. All these pictures you see of them, you can see that. I mean, this one's a bit different because they're happy they're being let out. Yay, they're making a break for it. Look at the swings here, man. Look at this kid up here. And there's another one. See, this would be so illegal today, right? But this is what they used to have. Here's some more in the factory. But they look very sort of matey with each other, especially the guys. This is waiting for the train. Right, all dressed up, waiting for the orphan train. Don't know who the parents are, getting shipped around to God knows where. Kids looking after kids, kids raising kids. All clothes. None of their clothes fit, which is interesting. I mean, look at this guy's jacket. They're pretty raggy too. But all the adults look so well dressed, don't they? See, look at this guy. He's just in rags. And this, what's he picking? All right, that's cotton. And we all know the story about cotton. So is that another lie? Was it actually kids out there? Because, look at this, is literally their workforce. These at the moment are more the orphans. So there are some younger ones in here. Got that one twice. These are orphans from the Netherlands. And again, the clothes don't really seem to fit them that well, do they? They look a little bit big. And I was thinking, oh, here we go. We've got a controller. It's Abraham Lincoln. And you see this so often, right? One controller, one adult, and all these kids. And again, these kids look so tough, don't they? But also like they're a family, like they're their own family. Like they're always, looking like they're standing together, and like, so clearly, they got no families, right? This is their family. Like this is them. And look at this building. Look how old this building looks. Right? It clearly looks like an old found building, and they've turned into a factory. More, and some of these photos are actually in the factories where these kids were working. Is that a gun? Yeah, these two got a gun, and these two got a baseball bat, and they're like, "Come for us." Oh, here you go, a couple of pipes. But as you can see, that's probably only a 16-year-old kid. Maybe 17, 18-year-olds at the back there, and so they're all just kids. Free labour sent around to do the work in the factories, to do the work in the farms. This is an orphanage, and of course, who ran all the orphanages, and then what came out, in the sort of 80s, 90s, is the story of what was going on in these orphanages run by these people who are supposed to be holier than thou, and they turn out to be the worst people ever to be in any kind of position of power, especially over children. And of course, this story is still continuing, right? This story is about shipping children around the realm and using them as labor. And a part of this was there were auctions where you could literally buy, well, here we go, an orphan, right? Homes wanted for children, a company of orphan children at the Opera House after, it's a bit, can't read that, after hours, Thursday, April 5th, 1906. Now, can't read that. Sorry, it's actually a really small clip that I found. That's advertising an orphan auction. Come and buy a child. And they could literally say, I want, a 5-year-old male with blonde hair buys. Like they put an order in, like they could get the kind of kid they wanted, which is a bit more nefarious, right? I mean, here, look at these poor little girls. They don't look very warm, do they? They don't look very happy. None of their clothes fit. Just walking around in the mud. And where are their parents? Where did all these kids come from? Again, this guy, he's like 11 or 12 and he's smoking a pipe. But again, right, they're like a gang, right? And I mean, is this where gangs started? Because gangs is another thing, right? Like a gang is a group of people who either don't have or don't want, their family. And so they go and make their own. The orphans did it through necessity, right? Oh, this was what I was going to say before these. Suspenders. Were they invented because all these kids' pants didn't fit them? They were all too big. More. And so we're talking little kids here, right? This is like a 2-3-year-old here. All orphans. Just working in someone's garden. So free labor, basically. Free labor for the realm. This is a shot of basically where they slept, right? Where the workers, not the orphanages, but the workers are factory orphans. And this is just straw, right? Just straw beds in a shed somewhere. I wonder they're a bit dirty. Kids, man, this realm was built on the backs of children. Right, so this is obviously all done by the people who took control of this era. So it shows you what they think of us, right, and our children and our kind. Like literally, right? We're just slaves. And we were.